Welcome to Dan ARG YouTube. The Edo State Governor, Obaseki, they talk about the things wey he don't do for 7.5 years wey he take the office. Make I leave you, make you hear from the Edo State Governor, Obaseki, and see wetin he don't do for Edo State. You go also hear from the people wey work under the Edo State Governor, Obaseki. Enjoy the video.
In the years leading up to Godwin Obaseki's tenure, the civil service in Edo State was in a state of disrepair. Public servants were demoralized, with salaries often delayed, and a lack of motivation stalling productivity. Corruption was a pervasive issue, eroding public trust and accountability. Bribery and favoritism were commonplace, further complicating the process of assessing public services. The civil service, intended to be a pillar of stability and efficiency, instead became synonymous with frustration and inefficacy. This was the state of Edo civil service before Godwin Obaseki took office. It was a pivotal moment, a time when the promise of a brighter future seemed almost out of reach. But with new leadership came new hope and the dawn of a transformative era for the civil service in Edo State.
If you think of government as a vehicle, then the civil service is the engine of that vehicle. And if the engine stalls or is not functional, then the vehicle is not going to go anywhere.
Obaseki's reforms are not just about modernizing government operations. They are about building a legacy of excellence, integrity, and service to the people of Edo State.
The day I resumed office in 2016, I undertook a visit to Palm House. And when I got into that property, as I walked out of that property, I knew that it symbolized disaster and something had to be done.
Through his unwavering commitment, a new era of public service is dawning, promising a brighter future for all.
Palm House is a very old building. At one point, it was gutted by fire. However, most of the panelings were still plywood, right? So it just required something to incinerate the place. I tried to walk through the fire escapes. They were all blocked with files, paper. So I said to myself, if a fire occurred in this building today, how will these people get out?
His vision extends beyond immediate improvements. His administration is laying the groundwork for a sustainable and effective public service that will continue to deliver for generations to come. By fostering a culture of continuous learning and improvement, Edo State is setting a new benchmark for civil service in Nigeria.
That is the condition under which people were working. That's the infrastructure. You don't want to talk about files. You couldn't, it was not uncommon to find missing files, right? You couldn't see, it was a challenge trying to get a file that would tell you the story of that issue from beginning to the end. Oh, somebody has taken something out, it was, the temporary file here. So in terms of processes, it was a bit arbitrary. You see, we have a major challenge. You do not expect people to work in these conditions and get efficiency out. So what we need to do is go back to the drawing board very quickly, begin a process of instant rehabilitation of some of the offices, ensuring that we create a perimeter fencing. We have to create this as an enclave, provide security, provide maintenance, and all the facilities required, so that our civil servants can work in a healthy, safe, and efficient environment.
This is the first time we have had an administration prioritize the growth and development of the civil service, the public service, to such an extent that everything that the civil and public service need to perform and to play their role in the polity have been provided by government for the civil and public service. And that's because Mr. Governor believes that the civil service, the public service is the fulcrum of government. The civil service is the foundation of government. The civil service, according to the governor, is the engine of government. And Mr. Governor always tells us that just as the engine is to a car, it is the same role that the civil service plays to governance.
So the first thing was, how do you want the offices to look like? You want their offices to look like better than their homes. They want to go there. They want to be proud of where they work. So we embarked on that massive refurbishment of infrastructure of the civil service.
Governor Godwin Obaseki's civil service reforms are redefining efficiency, accountability, and transparency in government operations through capacity building, comprehensive training programs, and conducive working environment, ensuring civil servants are better prepared to serve the public.
Then we also say, look, let us see how they can work efficiently. So rather than have one service in Nisekula, another one in Ubo, another one, no, they say let the government work from hubs. So you take the secretariat complex of about 6 or 8 buildings, put it there, right? So if one office justice wants to talk to information, they are all within the same ecosystem. And then that way it's easy to manage the infrastructure rather than each person having generator, right? We're able to get Osio power, for instance, to supply power to. So you're working in government offices, you're decently built, you have infrastructure, the air conditioning works, everything works. So all that is left for you is to be productive.
In terms of infrastructure, those days I used to tell people I inherited something very unique in my office as director of legal drafting. And I also passed it on to my successor. What was it that I inherited? I inherited a basin. You put a basin in your office so that when it rains, because the roof was leaking. And of course I also passed that on. It became an object of inheritance, because that showed you the kind of offices that we had.
So what we did was to say, look, let's build the process. So if you write to government today, first there must be evidence that that letter has been received. And within a certain time frame, you must get a reply. Because you wrote asking for something, right? Somebody must tell you what it is. Because it's your right. And it's their responsibility to provide you solutions to. So we got the processes to begin to. And how did we do it? Technology.
Central to Godwin Obaseki's transformative vision for Edo State Civil Service is the implementation of an enterprise resource planning ERP system. This innovative approach integrates various functions of government operations in a single cohesive framework.
I've been a civil servant for a long time, and I know the trouble of getting files to the registry, waiting for it to move to the next table, to the next table, to the next table. With eGov, it's not like that. Wherever you are, you're able to access your eGov to work on whatever files have come your way. 2 weeks ago, I was in Kano, but I was treating files from Kano because I could log on to the eGov.
When you log in to EdoGov, for instance, what it does for you, it deals with my profile. I can deal with human resource issues. I can know which staff, when you were promoted last, all of that. So your human resource records are in there. I don't have to go to somewhere else to get it. I can do my mails. So all the mails that have come into this office today, all scanned in. I can see, and I can see who, we've minuted. I can go back how many months and years and see who I have minuted mails to. It deals with memos, and tells me, okay, this person, has sent a Ministry for Mining and Oil and Gas has sent me a memo to do pre-commissioning of projects. So I go in there and I give an approval, and it goes into my schedule. And so we can go on and on and on. It's an enterprise system, not just focusing on one thing. It links all of government activities together. I can go into the financial model to say, okay, let me see the budgets. It shows me what was budgeted for. So before I approve, it can show me my expenses, show me my bank balances. It's an enterprise system that looks at government as a whole.
Since we moved from paper to paperless, they created a very beautiful environment. The same way I'm working right here, this is the same way I work at home. Exactly. Because the state government has already equipped us to be able to do the job.
Right now, No file can be missing because every file is in the system. On the touch of a button, I'm able to access every file in Edo State today. On the touch of a button, the governor of Edo State has access to every file in Edo State today. On the touch of a button, a commissioner in a ministry is able to access the files in his own ministry. So nobody tells me now that, oh, well, he cannot find any files. So transparency in government has been brought about by e-governance.
There's always steady network for you to carry out your jobs. You don't have to complain, just do your job.
The filing system was sort of like a long process. So you have to take the files to different places to get it signed. But now all you need to do is raise your memo, and just with one click, it has gone to the respective authority.
The benefits of the ERP system extend beyond government offices. Citizens are experiencing faster and more reliable service delivery, whether it's in processing permits or receiving social services.
Then, the people. People, how do you admit people in? How do you employ them? Before we came, it was as man, no man. That is, it was like a club, small club. You know, so you never got the best. It was not based on merit. You had to know somebody to get something. But we then said, no, you don't get the best out of it. Let it be based on merit. For you to be given a job in the civil service, you have to say, write a competitive exam. Whether you know somebody or you don't know anybody. We started introducing merit into the recruitment process.
More than that, at the moment you will see that we're recruiting. And I'm sure that the people we are interviewing, a number of them will tell you, I don't know anybody in the place. 99% of the time I can say to you that it's purely merit.
At first, it started by we applying online for the job. After you apply, they shortlisted for exam. We came for CBT.
Okay, it has been a fantastic experience from the stage 1 to this very stage we are now today. And everything is on merit. It has really been based on merit.
Very straightforward. I was surprised when I came here. They already called it. I was bid for 1 o'clock. But when I got here, they already calling my name already. That means the process is very seamless.
They just go straight, when you clear them downstairs here, they go straight to their panel. So they meet their panelists and the interviews. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they are done with it.
So this recruitment process, especially, was done via, online. Gone are those days when we do paper application, you submit, and we'll now review and start calling for the applicants. But in this case, they did all applications online. That process made this digital, environment made all this process seamless for us.
You see, when you are building institutions, people you are building, you can't give a man or woman a responsibility without training the person on how to carry out that responsibility. So it's the same thing as public service, where we are giving people responsibility to provide services for us. You've got to train them. You've got to let them know. You've got to give them feedback as to what they're doing and whether they're doing it right, or let them also have explain the challenges they have and find solutions on how to overcome those challenges. What we found in the past was all sorts of people were offering all sorts of training programs, but never really attended to the needs of the public or civil servant. So what we've done is to create a specialized academy that would first train you as to how to work, how we work. So if you want to learn how to use eGov properly and the relationships, there are spaces there, labs you could go to. So the key to a successful public service is knowledge.
We had a training center, and that training center, you needed to go there. It was like a ramshackle. But move forward. What we have now is a world-class academy in the John Odige Oyigun Public Service Academy. In fact, even now, unlike what it used to be, trainings used to be haphazard. But now there's a properly planned training calendar.
The John Odige Oyigun Public Service Academy was set up by His Excellency Governor Godwin Nogegase Obaseki to strengthen public service institutions through capacity building. JUPSA exists because His Excellency recognizes that the civil and public service is the engine of government, and he argues that if we want government to function as it should, we must essentially build capacity, and that's why we're here. We're over a year old and we've trained over 10,000 civil and public servants, equipping them with the skills, knowledge, and abilities to be able to function today and in tomorrow's future of work.
In terms of compensation, I mean, you give somebody the responsibility to supervise millions of naira of contracts. I mean, why you're paying peanuts? You know, people worked, they retired, and you're not paying them their gratuity, their pension. What do you think, the people who are working today, what do you think they will be thinking? How do you think their minds will be working? Now, those who came here before me, they worked. When they finished, they didn't get anything. So I should get what I can now that I'm working. So that sense of purpose, that sense of, security wasn't there.
If you're a recent graduate from Edo State looking for your first job in tech, this one is for you. The Edo State government is looking to train and employ 150 exceptional people to join the state workforce to manage the tech revolution in Edo State. This world-class IT training program to be delivered by Africa's leading tech institute, Decagon, in collaboration with Green Zone, is free of charge, with certifications and job offer for successful applicants upon completion. Under Governor Obaseki's leadership, Edo State has been making waves in the tech sector, laying almost 5,000 kilometers of fiber, the second most in Nigeria, digitalizing Edo State government operations, setting a gold standard for efficiency and transparency in governance, and launching Edo Tech Park Initiative, the new home of tech in the whole of Africa. Edo State is on a mission to shine brightly in the digital age, and we need the most brilliant young men and women to build on the digital foundation that has already been laid. Are you ready to join us on this exciting journey? Apply now for the Edo State IT Professionals Training Program. Hurry, spots are limited.
When Mr. Governor came on board, there were basically 2 or 3 issues that we needed to attend to in terms of pension and gratuity. The first was that there were arrears of pension running into several months, in some instances nearly 40 months, that government needed to clear. That was number 1. Then number 2, we needed to deal with the irregularities in the pension system, because sometimes it took several months for a pensioner to get into the pension payroll from the salary payroll, so that needed to be worked on. There were also arrears of gratuity that needed to be paid. And then fundamentally, we needed to stop this issue of the state not being able to pay arrears not being able to pay pension and gratuity once and for all. And so the governor took the uncomfortable step of bringing us into the contributory pension scheme on the 1st of January 2017. It was one of the first major steps he took.
You know, when we came in 2017, I said to myself, look, we had, for almost 30, 40 years, people who worked have not been paid either gratuities or pension in some cases, their benefits. And the reason was that when people signed up in the past, right, into the civil service, government was supposed to be keeping some money aside. So when you retire, they'll go back to that pool and be paying you from it. But unfortunately, the savings were not done. So fortunately for us, the government had introduced a new pension arrangement, which is the contributory pension scheme. It means that every month, something is taken away from your salary and saved for you. So by the time you finish work, at least you get a lump sum to go and do something else. And every month, you'll be getting what they call an annuity payment or pension payment. That was the new law. And I said, look, if this law exists, then why would let me be the last governor that will allow my civil servants suffer when they finish. That's what we did. So we drew the line, said going forward, let us now make sure that we save. You can see your money. You can see, you know how much every month. You can look at your account. Okay, this is how much salary I got this month. This is how much I've saved for when I stop working. Then we then said, okay, what about the people who had worked before we came? How do we treat with them? I said, well, let us draw the line. Huh? So by drawing the line, we have stopped the problem from continuing. It's now how to deal with the backlog. And that is what we've been doing in the last 7.5 years. That to date, I believe we've paid in excess of 20 billion, trying to cover up for those who have not been catered for.
The present administration, when we were about to retire, he even promised us right from that very day, that very month that we are retiring, we will start paying us. And ever since, he has been alive to his bidding.
We have retired and we are getting our monthly pension as at when due. No government has been able to pay attention to personnel than this very much. I'm not a politician, I'm a retired person.
My pension due comes in as at 20. As at 20 actually. There's no delay.
In fairness to the governor of Edo State, he paid before the time.
So those are the things we've done to just provide security. So that when you as a young person go and work in the civil service, you are not afraid that when this work finishes, when I finish, I'll go into poverty. You know that there's some money saved for you, you should know, but you can continue living on until you pass on, depending on what you want to do.
The contributory pension scheme is very, very, very good. I'm a beneficiary, though I've not retired, but I am contributing. And I want to say that the government meant well, because before now, most pensioners, you see them carrying placard, screaming and all that, but since the contributory pension scheme was introduced by His Excellency, no pensioner like my mother, she's benefiting and she has been receiving her salary as and when due.
Edo State is not one of the top states in terms of revenue generation. Edo State is not one of the top states in terms of federal allocation. But Edo pays the highest minimum wage. So it sounds like a paradox, but it is commitment and an avowed determination to ensure that this crop of workers who are doing well, who are doing their best for government, for governance to be effective, are well taken care of.
We have over 60,000 workers in service. And the truth is that at 70,000 naira, net, we're not doing well. Because when minimum wage was 18,000 naira, given the exchange rate at that time, civil servants were taking home an equivalent of $120 a month as minimum wage. When minimum wage went to 30,000 naira, we were paying 40, so we paid higher than the federal. With the exchange rate at that time, what people were taking home was about $90. Even at 70,000 naira now, with the current exchange rate, effective salary is $50 a month. So when people talk about 70,000, I say, oh no, even at 70, you're much poorer. How do we pay? I looked at our recurrent budget. I said, okay, there's a personnel cost and there's overheads at the cost of running government. I said, no, you should pay people more. Look for ways to save on overheads and move the money to personnel so that people earn more and at least can make up for the inflation and the devaluation of currency which they are, and inflation which they're currently experiencing. And how did we do it? This office runs on an IPP, Osimo. We don't buy diesel. So the savings we make from things like diesel, right? What do we do with it? We move it. I told you we work from hubs. We have like our own government Uber. Mega Connect is our own transport system. So if I want to go somewhere tomorrow, I have a software here, I go in and I book, and a driver and car comes to pick me.
Our fleet system typically has 5 parts. We have a ride-on demand system, which has an app-based booking type system, just like Uber. We also have a travel fleet, which responds to travel within and outside Edo State. We also have a VIP fleet as well, which is not housed here. But typically, Edo State government and His Excellency Governor Obaseki has been able to turn around logistics in a way nobody can or nobody thought was possible. Within the last 24 months, we've cut down expenses on fleet services by about 40%. Resources that are saved from this process are able to be channeled into other areas.
We save. We saw this problem coming and we planned for it. It was not an accident. That once you remove fuel subsidy, once you removed the exchange rate caps, you knew it was going to lead to inflation. I made statements about it, right? So I saw, they say, a stone you see coming is not likely to blind your eyes. So we saw it coming as a government. And we've made some preparations for it. That's what you're seeing.
Other people outside look at us and they envy us. Those of us who own this must not destroy it. That's my word for every civil servant. Let's sustain this because it's a great, great idea.
I want everyone to remember Governor Godwin Nogegase Obaseki as a visionary, someone who focused on human capacity development. I think history will be extremely kind to the visionary governor.
I'd like to, on behalf of the Civil and Public Service of Edo State, thank profusely our beloved governor for prioritizing the growth and development of the service like never before.
I was full of praise and prayer for Governor Mbagi. He told the visitors that since the inception of guitar verification in Nigeria, starting with the northwestern zone of the country in 2014, in terms of provision of the facilities necessary for a conducive verification of pensioners, no state has done better than Edo State.
The civil servant now can stand tall. We can say boldly that the civil service of Edo State is the best civil service in everything in this country. And that's because Mr. Governor dreamt of it and he brought it about. Thank you, Your Excellency.
We came with a purpose, we came with a sense of a mission, and 7.5 years after, I believe that we have accomplished what we set out to do. And I just hope and pray that my successors will build on what we have started so that we can have a much stronger and prosperous Edo State.
Now we don't hear from the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, and you don't see the things we don't do for Edo State. Let us know what you think for comment section. If you never subscribe to Dan ARG YouTube, try make you subscribe so that make you for the hear all the things where they happen for Nigeria. Make I leave you with this video, make you help us share them. Thank you for watching Dan ARG YouTube.